Hi everyone, welcome back to another video. So today I'm going to be telling you my birth story. So if you haven't seen my previous video or one of my previous videos, depending on when I upload what, I already have up a birth vlog, which was me filming when at the time, so as it happened I was filming, but there's a few details that I thought he was waking up, he's not, it's just newborn sleep. There's a few details that I didn't include, just as obviously I was in labour and my mum tried to update, so we wrote some notes and I printed them out here so I can tell you all my birth story with proper dates and times. He is officially 2 weeks old today, which is weird because I started watching Aprillia's birth vlog before I filmed this one, and she was 2 weeks old when I filmed her video too. And obviously Hudson's asleep. That's his name, Hudson. If you've not seen my birth vlog, his name is Hudson Pepperbridge. He does not have a middle name yet. I haven't got him registered. He's getting registered next Monday, and it's currently Tuesday, so I've got just less than a week to think of a middle name, and I can't think of anything good to do with his middle name, so he might end up not having one. But anyways, I'm going off on a tangent. So yeah, my first is 2 and she had a really long labour, like 3 days long, so this labour could not be any different from that. It was started off similar but ended up different. So obviously I was due him on Christmas Day, so that was my due date, and I thought he was going to come early because, like I said, with my waters broke at 39 plus 4 weeks, so I thought my waters were going to break on their own early, and they obviously didn't. Christmas I was at my nan's. We went to my nan's for Christmas Eve, Christmas Day and Boxing Day. After that we was like, you can come anytime, baby boy, because I'll be at home and everything like that. And he still didn't want to come, so that was that. I was thinking I'm gonna have to be induced. The last couple of days before birth I obviously have a vlog where I filmed on the Saturday and Sunday, the 2 days after Boxing Day, and then on Monday the 29th, is it? Yeah, Monday the 29th I had a midwife appointment that was booked in for 11 AM I think, or 10 AM, but it was just in my area. I didn't have to get any buses or anything. I could literally walk down there to it, and that's where I was going to get a sweep, and I was so sure that I was going to get that sweep and then it was going to get everything going, and I was going to then give birth on the Tuesday evening to the Wednesday morning. So I was very close with my guess, but I can't count that as an official guess because I guessed so many different things, and every time it would get to that date I'd then have a new guess, so it doesn't really count. My sister guessed though that he was going to be born on Monday the 29th, so she was 1 day off. So that's that. So it gets to Monday and I literally wake up, open my eyes, Aprillia's not there, she's at her dad's. She went on the Sunday evening, so it's like my body was waiting for her to go. So she went to her dad's, and then I woke up and I felt a little trickle and I was like, what is that? I was like it feels like when you, but it didn't feel like a pop, it was like a tiny trickle, and it just slowly got more and more and more, and it just felt, I could feel it coming at me. You know, when you're on, for anyone who hasn't experienced their waters breaking, it feels like when you're on your period and a load of blood comes out and you can't stop it, it just comes out and as I say, it might be TMI, you're watching a birth thing, so there's no such thing as TMI at this point. After that, that was at 6 AM, so I woke up randomly. I'm just gonna refer to my notes to make sure I'm getting it right. I literally woke up at 6 AM and my waters broke. 10 minutes later, I messaged my mum first of all, and I was like, my waters broke. I was like, I'm just gonna clean up and then I'll call you. And she was like, yep, exciting, call me. So I rang my mum at 10 past 6, and she was super excited. So my nan was going to go collect my mum and my sister and then come pick me up and drop me and mum to the hospital, and then my nan was going to look after Elsie, who's my little sister who's 7. So the first thing that I did was ring the birth centre because I wanted to give birth in the birth centre, the same one that my mum did, and I wanted to with the Aprillia as well, but I never ended up doing it because the way that my waters broke and everything like that. Again, you can go see the video. But I rung them and there was a tinge of like red in there, so like a bit of blood, and also the baby wasn't really, he wasn't really moving. So then they said, because of reduced movements and stuff, to go in but go to triage first, and then they can decide what to do, whether you go to the birth centre or not. So that was at 6:30 that I rung them. And then at 8:30 is when my mum and my nan and my sister arrived, and on the way there we decided to stop at Sainsbury's to grab a few snacks because that was the one thing that I didn't have. So we got some Lucozade Sports, of course, and we got a meal deal each for lunch, and just like a few crisps, cookies and stuff like that. So we got there around 9 AM and I did a wee sample, and I had and they checked the heartbeat, and his heartbeat was all good. They never said anything about the wee again. When they don't say anything, normally that just means it's all good. And then you get put onto the mini ward bit, the triage bit, like the main bit where you first go, and it's just like 3 little beds with like curtains in between. So I got put there first of all, where they monitored him. Basically he wasn't moving enough. So you have to press the little button every time they move, and he just wasn't very active, but he isn't normally very active in the morning, so they weren't too concerned about it. But he obviously failed the monitor, so it is not good. I also was having slight contractions at this point, but they weren't really extreme or anything like that, so it didn't really mean much. So I then got put into like an actual room, and they came in, some really nice midwife and a doctor, because they have to get like the doctor to come around and speak to you basically. And she said, because he doesn't normally move, so it's his normal pattern is to not really move in the mornings anyways. So it's not like he's going against the pattern, he's just not moving, but that's normal for him. So like that's the thing with like reduced movements and extra movements, is it's not about a certain amount and at certain times, it's literally like what's their normal pattern, and that was his normal pattern. Yeah, we got put in that, and she gave us a few options. So she said, because his movements are the normal for you, so I could decide what I wanted to do. So I could decide if I wanted to be induced right there and then, and just get labour going, because it was already there, my water's already broken, and we only had 24 hours, so it's 6 AM the next day, they'd have to try and induce me anyways if I hadn't gone into labour. And the other option was to go home and see if the contractions came on their own, and then if not, go back at 6 AM the next day. So I decided I'd rather go home and wait for the contractions to come on their own, because I really didn't want to be induced, especially because I had to be induced with my first, so I really just didn't want to have to be induced. So we went home, and this was around like 12:29, so like around lunchtime. We had some lunch, and you will see the clip in my birth video where we was just chatting and giving like a bit of an update. But we sat there, I had my pasta, and we had a banoffee pie, well, toffee pie, because my nan doesn't put bananas in it because we don't like bananas, but my nan we had some left over from Boxing Day, so we ate that. Well, actually I ate that, my mum didn't want any. Not like that is an important detail. And then we was trying everything to try and get labour started, so we ate some crisps as well. And then yeah, we went curb walking up to the park and back. This thing, I don't even know if that is what helped bring on labour or not. It didn't happen straight away. So then yeah, we came back, and then it got to around dinner time. So around 6 o'clock we had a Chinese, and we was watching One Born Every Minute on the telly. It was like a nice thing to watch, because it's like I'm about to go into labour, so I don't know, I like watching One Born Every Minute anyway. It's nice seeing all the little babies, and it's getting me excited to have him. And the contractions like were coming, and they were becoming a bit more regular, but they weren't like getting any more painful or anything like that. So then I started curb walking up and down the stairs, and again it just wasn't really doing anything, and it was getting later into the evening. So we decided that as the contractions weren't getting any bigger, we was going to go to bed, because we'd have to go into hospital at 6 AM the next day anyway. So we went up, I took off my makeup, my mum took off her makeup, and we got into pyjamas ready to go to bed. And then I was laying on my left side in bed, my mum was sat on Aprillia's bed just for now, and we was both just on TikTok or like on our phones, and the contractions just kept coming, and they suddenly became really painful, and like they really ramped up and just kept coming, and they ended up being every 5 minutes for like a while. So then I was like, Mum, we probably should call the hospital just in case something happens. And they said to go in, and that was at 11:16 PM, so basically the end of Monday. So when we got in, it was past midnight, so it was technically Tuesday the 30th, so it's the day that I gave birth, which is exciting. But the first thing they did was put me on the monitor. They might have done another wee sample, I think they did, I can't remember, because they always do wee samples. But I started on the monitor again and he was moving, that was all fine, but the contractions weren't really showing up on the thing, so I thought it was broken. But she checked and she was like, it's definitely not broken, but I could feel the contractions and they weren't showing up on the machine. I don't know why. And then also my heartbeat was being a bit strange for some reason. And because of that, she said we probably wouldn't be allowed to go to the birthing centre. Like, she said she'd have to get opinions from different doctors and stuff, and they kept going out to go and do that, but it took forever. And we kind of sat there for a while just waiting for them to do that. They also said I needed to get an ECG because of my heart, but they never said anything about that either, so I'm guessing that was all good. They did it twice. And then she also said because the contractions weren't really enough, I might have to be induced. She said she would check me first though, just to check if like I did have to be induced or not. So that was at 1 AM. So she did the internal examination and she said I was a 2 to 3, but she gave me a stretch and sweep, a sweep and stretch, whatever it's called. She said like when she's doing it, she can get me to like a 3-4 centimeters from 2 to 3. So she did that, but she said the cervix was still high and thick. But she also said once the baby moves down, things will probably progress quite quickly. But then they said they're going to get me on the birthing ball and other positions and stuff to get baby down before they try and induce me. So then at 1:30 they did my ECG, and then they did put a cannula in, and because we had to wait for a doctor to decide. So even though she said about the induction, the doctor is the one who kind of discusses it and decides if you're going to get induced or not, or what the options are. So she gave me a cannula in my arm, and honestly I haven't written this down because I forgot about it until right now. I still have a bruise on my arm 2 weeks later. It's almost gone. It's gone a bit, like, I don't know if you can see that, but I'll put a picture up here of what the bruise looked like when I came home, and that was like 3 days after birth, and I didn't get it taken out until like 2 days after birth because they just didn't, and I had to ask them and be like, can you take this out, because it never got used. But yeah, so they gave it to me, and it's weird because that's the worst thing for me is bloods. With my first, I used to faint all the time during pregnancy and throw up, whereas with him, for some reason, the whole pregnancy I've been completely fine with getting my bloods done. And they've always said I have really skinny veins and stuff like that, and it's really hard to find my blood, but literally since I've been pregnant with him, it's like he's fixed it. But she did it and I was all fine, and then all of a sudden she goes, oh, and looks at my arm, and it's like this part of my arm, because she did it like here in my arm, this part of my arm had like bulged up, and basically the tissue had like started clotting. It makes me feel sick just thinking about it. It was like traumatizing. And she's wriggling the needle trying to get it to go down, and I can't. It really just makes me feel sick. And like I was like I feel really dizzy and I feel really sick now, like the thought of that. So they got me a sick bag just in case, and luckily I wasn't sick and I didn't faint. But honestly, that was horrible. That's probably one of the worst parts of labour. Like, other parts were more painful, but that is like the worst. I absolutely hated it. And the fact that I didn't end up getting induced, so I didn't even end up needing to use it, made it pointless. But I ended up with a massive bruise where she had to wiggle the needle and stuff, and that part of my arm felt weird for ages because obviously the tissue had clotted. I can't even think about it. So she put that in, and then we got put into our own room. So I went and did a wee. There was still loads of waters coming out. This is the thing with Aprillia, who's my first, I don't know if I actually said her name, but yeah, with Aprillia, my waters broke, and I don't remember it keep coming out. I remember like changing the pad maybe like once or twice, and it wasn't. Whereas this one, I literally went through like loads of pairs of trousers. Maybe I think it was 3 pairs of trousers just in the morning. Before I'd even got into the hospital, and I was changing pads all the time. Yeah, and even now there was still loads of, until I gave birth, there was loads of waters coming out all the time. And then I started bouncing on the ball thing. They came in again at 6 AM and they put a monitor on me again to track the baby, which was all good, I guess. And the contractions again weren't great, so they said they might have to induce me, and then they didn't. And I said, can you check like me first? And they were like, yeah, of course. So they checked me at 6:30, and they said the cervix was soft and thin, which was obviously better than before, and that the baby had moved down a lot, and that I was 3 centimeters dilated, and so I didn't need to be induced yet, which was nice. And then 7:25, so about like an hour later, we had to move rooms because there was some leak in the first room for some reason. I'm not really sure, but we moved rooms, and that other room was the room that I was going to give birth in, which is exciting. So all day long in there, I was just labouring all day. Contractions just kept on coming. I think I had some toast at some point. I can't even remember if that was whilst I was in labour or if that was after, but they kept giving me Lucozade Sports as well. I didn't even know that they had like a stash of them, but they have their own ones that they kept coming and giving me. So I was drinking that, and I was also drinking water because I prefer water a lot of the time, but obviously the Lucozade Sports give you loads of energy, especially when you're in that much pain. And the contractions didn't seem like they were coming on very fast. Like they were and they weren't like, they were painful, don't get me wrong, but it didn't feel like they were getting more painful or closer together or anything like that. They kind of just were the same. So then they said again they might have to induce me, which they obviously kept saying, but they checked me and I was a 7, so they said that I should be giving birth soon. I think this was around 10 o'clock ish, or like 10:30, so about an hour before he was born, which is exciting. But I was 7 centimeters and they said, yeah, I should be giving birth soon. And me and my mum thought like, oh, probably like quite a few hours later that I would be giving birth, maybe like in the evening once she said that. But after that check, I had literally a massive thing of contractions that just kept coming, and they just got so painful. So at some other points during labour, they kept saying to me, like, if you want an epidural, you have to get it now, because otherwise you're not gonna be able to get it. And I was like, I really don't want to have to get an epidural. I said, if I get induced, I'll have an epidural, but apart from that, I don't really want it. And they were showing me all the different pain reliefs, and I was like, I really don't want to do gas in there because I threw up with the Aprillia with it. I had one thing of it and then threw up, so I was like, I really don't want to use that. But once it got to this point, once I was past 7 centimeters and I was in this little bit in between where they really ramped up, I was like, all right, fine, I'll try the gas in there. So I tried it, and it's weird because it doesn't work, first of all, when you're like blowing into it and you're like sucking in, like, because it's like a mask. You'll see on my birth blog, but yeah, when you're sucking into the mask, it doesn't work straight away, and then all of a sudden you can still feel the contraction, but you feel, obviously you're high, but you feel like so out of it. It's such a weird experience. It's kind of horrible though, like I don't like the feeling of things like that, so it made me feel really like sick. And then eventually I did throw up, so I was like, I'm not going to use it anymore. But yeah, the contractions were so painful at that point. And she said, if you need to push, then do you need to push? And I was like, no, I don't feel like I need to push. And then they wanted to check how dilated I was, but they didn't end up doing it straight away. And then I said, I feel like I need to push. And they're like, okay, if you need to push, just go with your body and do it. And I was doing it, and then she was like, just wait for the next contraction and do it. And I was like, I can't, I need to push even though there's no contractions. She was like, that's fine, just go with your body. If you need to push, then push, and that's fine. So I then pushed, and from 7 to 10 centimeters, or from 7 centimeters to when he was born, was only an hour, which is crazy because that is very fast to go from 7 to 10 centimeters and birth him out. He was born at 11:41 a.m. in the morning, obviously, because a.m. Nearly in the afternoon, but a.m. And yeah, him being born was a big shock. So if you see in the videos and in any pictures that I've posted online, you can see he looks really pale, and then he eventually got his colour. My mum did say, mum cut his cord as well, so I don't have any videos of that. I didn't even think about that, because she obviously cut it, but like I will remember it in my head, so it's fine. Because I wasn't sure if she was going to cut it, but then, because before she was saying about it, she was saying like, no, she doesn't really want to. And then when they asked her, she was like, yeah, I cut it. So yeah, my mum cut the cord. And then, yeah, in the pictures here, you'll see that I look really in shock as well, which I was, so I don't really remember the first moments, which is kind of sad, but I've got loads of pictures from that moment, and there's a few videos, and I'm kind of just like, because basically after you give birth to your baby, then you give birth to your placenta, and then they check you to check if you got any tears or anything, which luckily I didn't have any tears. I had a small graze, which is exactly the same as what I had with the Aprillia, where they said it might just hurt to pee. It might just sting a little bit, which is like fair enough. I realised I've been sat forward for ages, like instead of sat back and like relaxed. So yeah, for me, the pain didn't go away for ages because I was still contracting to try and get the placenta out. And then they said, don't worry, like once you get the placenta out, you have a huge relief. And I was like, I know, I remember. And it's the weirdest feeling because they had to like, they give you the injection like into your leg to help get the placenta out. You can say no to it, but I wanted it. So they did that. And then they pull it out, not like really hard, obviously, they just kind of pull it out like gently. I also got a picture of my placenta once it was out as well, but we didn't open it all up. We just, because she said we could, and I was like, nah, I can't be bothered with all that, like whatever, it's just the placenta. But I got a picture of it like in the bowl, which kind of like grosses me out now, but I do have a picture of Aprillia's one as well. And I remember them saying with Aprillia's that her placenta was massive, so I wonder if his one was as well. I don't actually know. But yeah, so that was that, and yeah, the whole start of it I was a bit out of it, and then eventually I kind of came to, it was when they were checking me as well after that, so basically they had to clear up all the blood, and they said there wasn't actually that much blood. I think I only lost 100 millilitres, is that right? I don't know, I think that's what it was, of blood. So they were like, oh, there's literally like hardly any blood. I mean, it did keep coming out obviously after birth, but then I think another reason why I was in loads of pain was that I needed a wee, but I didn't really realise that was what it was, because so much is happening down there that you don't even know what any feeling is. So I was holding him, obviously I did the skin to skin, I did the golden hour, and then my mum held him for a bit. Or actually, yeah, my mum held him because I was so out of it. I was like, I just need my mum to hold him because I was tired. We hadn't slept that whole night before, so I was tired, and then I was in shock for the fact that I'd just given birth like that quickly, when I was expecting it to go on way longer. I don't know if I've already said, but he took a minute to cry, which I didn't even notice, but my mum said afterwards that he took a while to cry, like his first cry. And also he did exactly the same as his sister. So Aprillia, as she came out, pooed all over herself and all over him, all over me, not him. And he did something similar. He didn't poo all over me, but he did poo as it came out, so they kind of cleaned it up. But it's crazy that was their both of them like did the same thing. Both of my labours and my waters broke first, and then obviously I had to be induced with her, but with him I didn't. And then they both pooed on their way out, which is just like lovely for me. Yeah, my mum held him for a bit, and then eventually I went for a wee, and after that I felt so much better, because you have to do 2 wees. It's really weird, but you wee in, like, you know those pots which like to be sick in, you wee in one of those, and I filled up 2 of them. Like, that's how much I had. My bladder was so full up that I peed into 2 of them, and obviously there's blood and stuff coming out as well, but most of it was pee, and they have to catch like all of it. You can't let any of it go into the toilet. You have to catch all your wees so they can check it, and then you have to do 2 wees and get them both checked. But obviously where I'd weed so much the first time, the second time that I peed, I didn't even pee enough, and so they were like, no, you need to go do another one. But yeah, and then after that I got moved to, well, they're supposed to move you to a room, and she said your room will be ready, and then she said actually your room's not going to be ready. So because my room already had a shower, like the room that I was in now already had a shower in it and stuff, she said you guys can just stay in here and like shower, get ready and do all that. So I did that because that was obviously later in the evening. So I showered in that room. My mum looked after Hudson. I mean, he was in his little bed crib thing anyways, but my mum watched him whilst I had a shower. It is the weirdest thing having a shower after birth, because you've got no bump, but there's still like a bit of belly. You feel light but heavy. You feel like I couldn't like stand up straight because it felt like it was stretching everything out. It was weird. And then you're obviously bleeding. The second you step out the shower, you're still bleeding, so you need to get everything on yourself, dry yourself, get everything on quickly, because like, yeah, you know what I mean. If you've ever been in that situation, then if you ever give birth, then you know what I mean. But it's also the nicest feeling as well, because you can get yourself really clean after birth. So did all of that. I then had a sandwich because they asked if I wanted any food, so they went and got a load of, like, we had a sandwich each, and I can't even remember what else there was. A few extra of our snacks, had a cookie and stuff. And then eventually they had my bed ready in the ward, because obviously you get put in rooms where there's loads of mums and babies, and then you have like your own bed, which is your own section. So I got put in there. I have done the first week postpartum, so there isn't loads of talking at the beginning of that, but as I go into it more there is. And also in that video I have got Aprillia meeting Hudson, which I think is such a cute little video. I also have like the long ways version of it on TikTok, so if you want to go see it now, then definitely go check out. My TikTok's in the description box down below, but it's also just Taylor Lily X, same as, I think it's Taylor Lily X or it's Taylor Lily, I'm not sure. I will put it here so that you can see. But yeah, the link to it is in the description box down below if you don't want to search for it and you just want to click on the link, because fair enough, it makes life easier. But yeah, there's a video of Aprillia meeting Hudson, because I was obviously in hospital and stuff, and then I came home and she got dropped the day that I came home, literally like straight away, and that was my first evening having them both. But if you want me to talk more about what it's been like postpartum, then do let me know. Obviously, like I said, my first week of postpartum I did film, but I didn't do loads. I didn't do loads of talking properly about my first week, so I think I might do a video if you guys want to see it. Leave me any questions down below that you have about having a baby or about birth or anything like that. Maybe I'll do like a little even though I'm 2 weeks postpartum, but do like a 1 week or 2 week postpartum, or just postpartum in general Q&A, just explaining kind of what it's been like having 2 kids now instead of 1, and like the differences and stuff like that, and just anything that you want to know. Do let me know in the description box down below, or you can go over to my Instagram and let me know, because I'm sure I'll be asking on my Instagram stories at some point. But yeah, that is my birth story. That is how it all went, and obviously we are home now and he is 2 weeks old. He is still sleeping in there, but he's probably, I think he's due a feed soon. I can tell because my boobs are starting to hurt. So I'm like, yeah, he's definitely due a feed soon. So yeah, it took me a while to find the time to be able to film this video, but my housemate did turn up halfway through, so I'm gonna finish this now, because just in case someone else wants to come in this room, because I'm in a communal area filming right now. So make sure you have the bell on so you get notified when I film, when I upload, not film. My mum used to tell me off for saying that, like when I upload, not when I film. And then yeah, make sure you put the bell on so you get notified when I'm uploading. But at the moment it's every Saturday, and obviously because I'm postpartum and it's hard to find times to make sure I'm ready for filming, like physically, that I'm dressed, and he has to be asleep, and I can't do it when Aprillia is here because she doesn't nap, so she would just be running around all the time. And obviously I'd normally film when she's not here, but obviously I have Hudson too now, so it's gonna be, that was weird, I didn't mean to make that noise, it's because I like burped and it just kind of came out. But yeah, it's a lot more different now having 2 kids, because I have him full-time. Anyone who knows, his dad is not involved at all. So it's just me looking after him. So yeah, I have him full-time, which I'm very grateful for, to be honest, that I get to have him full-time and I don't have to share him. But yeah, we are also breastfeeding as well, so I did film a bit of it in my birth vlog. You'll see his first time breastfeeding. But if you again want to know anything to do with that and like our breastfeeding journey in general, because it is very different to my first, if you watch any of my postpartum videos from my first, you'll know that we really struggled with breastfeeding, whereas this time it's gone a lot smoother. There still is a few struggles which we're still working out, but yeah, if you guys want to know any of that, then also let me know and I will do some videos on that. All these ideas are just coming into my head, but I need to know if you guys are actually interested, because I don't want to be filming them and no one actually cares. But yeah, I'm absolutely rambling on now, so thank you guys for watching my birth story. Again, if you want to see the vlog, it'll be in the description box down below. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. I love you all. Bye.